time-wise, look, for the better part of 25 years, these have been the kind of clients that I've worked with. And the big issue in large companies and government and things like that is the difference of view that actually go on. So my projects have been things like strategic planning. So I did the strategic plan for the City of Perth and Joondalup, and the central project planning system for BHP. I worked for 6 years on the Perth Stadium, Optus Stadium. My job was to get a unified set of views out of stakeholders. So the government said, we want a fan-first approach to the stadium. We want to find out what fans want and then build that into the stadium. And so we had focus groups with sports fans and for the better part of 6 years, and then we have to turn that into something that a builder can build, right? And so what we discovered over time was that building a model, turning a complex concept into a structured model rapidly accelerates the communication process and rapidly accelerates the depth of understanding that goes on. So there are two, there is often a conversation between two people. Who sells to corporates? A few of you, right? For most of you, this dynamic is true though. You're the salesperson selling to someone in a corporate organisation who actually wants what you do. That makes sense? And then the spectre of the CFO hovers over everything. And a bunch of other people, legal, HR, with all due respect, so on and so forth, who all have a different view. And that person has to sell to them. You've got to turn that person into a salesperson for you. If you don't get that done, you're not getting that company. And what we discovered was we couldn't get them to explain it properly. And if they did explain it properly, we couldn't get them to explain it with the level of energy we needed them to explain it with. So if I say, we will absolutely give you the results. So my positioning for facilitation work for large government is, so the government does things like they ring me and they say, we're going to get 200 homeowners on the coast whose properties are going to lose value because we've changed the definition of flood zone. And we're going to put them in a room for a couple of hours and we need you to get them to reach agreement. And so my positioning has been just put the bodies in the room and I'll get you the result. Because you've got to be willing to make a promise. You've got to be willing to make a promise. Now, I know I can do that in a room because the models work. And so, I can't get this person, though, to go to their people and say, just put him in the room and he'll get the job done. They don't, the energy falls off. Does that make sense? They can speak the words, but the energy falls off. So we were fascinated with this. I'm going, how do I get them to sell? And then we discovered if I pop a model in the middle, if I sit at the table with them and draw a model and discuss stuff, they invariably go, can I take a photo of that? Or could I take that piece of paper? And they can hoof the model around to everybody else. And they can say, I can't, and here's what they normally do. They go, I won't explain this as well as Simon did, but this is what he's going to do. And they're selling. Does that make sense? And all I want to do is get a meeting with all of them in the room so I can sell to all of them. Because I'm the best person to sell what I'm going to do. Not this person. I just need them to get them in the room. But those of you that sell to corporates, it's hard to get everyone into a room, right? Unless they've got a reason for being there. And if this thing that you pop in the middle makes sense but is intriguing, they've now got a reason to be there. So here's the thing with the stadium. We bring all these sports fans together. The stadium has been recognised globally and people are travelling here all the time to look at it because the sports fans informed the stadium. And the sports fans came up with stunningly simple yet powerfully effective things. This 15-year-old boy that was in one of the groups went, could you just make one level open access all the way around the stadium with no stairs so that parents can say to their kids, if you get lost, go to level 1 and just stand on the outside and we'll find you. All the adults went, oh, that's a good idea. We were thinking of that, So level 1 and 5, I like that. But you've got to turn that into something the builders can build. So what do we put in between the idea and the builder's building? What do we put there? When you've got a bunch of ideas, what do we put in the middle so that those ideas turn into the building? And what's the visual? What do we draw? We draw a floor plan, we draw a building design, don't we? We draw a model of the stadium on paper. Here's the metaphysics of this. Everything in this room became a drawing on paper between being a thought and reality. Everything. The tables, the chairs, the bar, the cameras. Other than us, everything in this room was a drawing on paper, or now digitally, before it became reality. The metaphysics between thought and reality is usually a drawing on paper, a model of what the thought would be in reality. And so once we realised that, we thought, we'll just put models in front of people, and it exploded our results. So the two most important systems in any business are the system for thinking and the system for influence. Your business is only as good as the idea on which it's built and your ability to communicate it. It's only as good as the idea on which it's built and the quality of the thinking of the leaders that are running it, and your ability to influence the choices everybody else makes to support you. Staff to work hard, suppliers to serve you, customers to buy from you, regulators to give you the authority to operate. Every element of success in your business depends on your ability to influence people to support you, one way or another. But if so a thought has no value whatsoever until it turns into a communication that everyone else will buy. Let me say that again. A thought has no value whatsoever until it turns into a communication that everyone else would buy. So Einstein was brilliant. And in his miraculous year, the 1 year where he published most of his work, he needed to turn the brilliance of his idea into E equals mc squared so people can buy it. Now, people don't even know what E equals mc squared means, but it's still one of the most searched terms on the internet. He was, he was search engine optimized before search engine was a thing. So how did the idea just get hold? Because he took this really complex stuff. Has anyone actually read Einstein's specific theory of relativity and general theory of relativity? Yeah, well, don't. It's hard yakka, right? But he turned it into a thing. A formula, which is a model. A formula is a model of a complex interaction of variables. That's what a formula is. So these two systems are really critical. And then layering on top of that is that we have become less attentive as humans. We officially have a shorter attention span than goldfish. Now, this is based on the data of how long people spend on a website before they click away. So here you've got 8 seconds. If people come to you through search, you've kind of got about 8 seconds to get their attention, right? And greater than 50% of the world today is on mobile devices anyway. So it's even shorter because they can't hear sound because they're usually looking at it on the toilet. So it's true. It's called the toilet test. Every video you put on your website and online now must have subtitles because 85% of videos are being watched with the sound turned down. So you make a great video, but they can't hear you. Put subtitles on, you'll be stunned. Because they're listening to it on the toilet. It's called the toilet test. That doesn't mean you start the video saying, I know you're on the toilet, so I've put subtitles on the video for you. Although it might work. The other thing that's really shifted is people no longer want to be shouted at. People don't want to be sold to anymore. Who would fit into that category? You don't want to be shouted at. You don't want to be sold to, right? They want to be understood. And particularly with young people, this is the age of being understood. But the biggest marketing strategy on the planet is for people to meet you and know that you truly get them. Just process that for a minute. The biggest marketing strategy on the planet is for people to meet you and know that you truly get them. And then the second biggest marketing strategy on the planet is for you to remove all risk for them. You do those two things, you're good. I really get you, and they believe you do, and I'm removing all risk from this for you, whether it's through a guarantee or whatever. You're in a completely different space to everybody else. And you're probably already doing what you would guarantee anyway. I've got a client that builds roads, and in the roads world, if the road is going to fail, it will fail in the first 12 months. 99% of the time, if the road surface fails, it'll fail in the first 12 months. And people like Main Roads and stuff, want a 12-month or 3-year guarantee on it. And this company wants to separate itself, And they're looking for ways to separate. I said, you need to reverse all risk. And they go, well, what would you do? I'd put a 10-year guarantee on the road. They go, I can't guarantee the road for 10 years. That's crazy. And I'm going, well, the roads fail within the first 12 months that they're going to fail. And they go, well, yeah, that's true. And I go, well, if it fails, what would you do? They go, we go and fix it. Well, you just get 9 bonus years if you claim a 10-year guarantee. If you have to fix one because it failed at 9 years, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Let's say you put a 10-year guarantee on, and they know their data. If a road fails, it will fail in the first 12 months. But if there's an outlier and it fails at 9 years and you've got a 10-year guarantee and you've got to go and fix it, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a great thing, because then people know the guarantee is real. But it's probably only going to happen once. So we've got a company in South Australia that builds farm sheds. They've got a 50-year guarantee. 50-year structural guarantee on the farm shed. Because farm sheds fail in the first 12 months if they're going to fail. Do you know what I mean? Or it's because the farmer drove a tractor into it. And farmers do ring them up and go, we need the guarantee. They go, send us a photo. And the tractor's still wedged in the shed. You're going, it's a structural guarantee. You know, well, we hit the structure. So it's just like people, the bizarre things. So an idea only lands when people can see it and understand it. I mean, this is almost biblical. We trust what we can see. We're suspicious of what we only hear. You know, we need to see the evidence. Evidence has got to be observable. A criminal case can only be built on observable evidence. It cannot be built on hearsay. We have a thing called hearsay. My wife was a police officer for 8 years. The most unreliable evidence in a criminal investigation are witnesses. And the police know that. The most unreliable evidence. They want stuff that they can see. They want stuff that's observable.